Welcome to Shom Machshava on the Daf. We're holding in Zevachim Daf Kuf Yudalit. The Gemara in the end of the Mudalev brings the pasuk L'Tasul K'Chol Asher Anachnu Osim Po Hayoim, and the Gemara says the Moshe Rabbeinu told Yisrael Ki Elisu La'aretz, when you come into Eretz Yisrael, Yashrus Takrivu Choyvos Lo Takrivu. You mark only in Dorim and Dovis, not Choyvos. And the Gemara explains that Gilgal is considered to be the place where you now makriv chayvis. It's not considered to be a place of a Mishkan until you get to Shiloi. Adrab, it's mechusas man until you get to Shiloi. And here's a place to understand what is the definition of a Mishkan. What's the definition of Mokam HaAvodah? And why Gilgal is missing it. What's missing in Gilgal? So in Mesechus Megillah and Daf Amud Beis, the Mishnah there speaks about the difference between Bamah G'doilo and Bamah Ktana. The Meiri there explains that the reason the Mishkan is a Mishkan, he says because Hashem Mizbeach ve'oren imoy. The Oren HaKodesh needs to be in place. If the Oren is not there, so it's not a real Mishkan. So says the Meiri, what happened in the Gilgal? So in the Gilgal called Sheva Shekivshu Sheva Shechilku, there was an Oren, but the Oren was always going to wars. It wasn't a Makam Kvius over there. Once it's not a Makam Kvius, it's not considered to be a Mishkan. And the Meir goes on to say, even though the Mizbeach was there, but because the Oren wasn't Kavua with it, it doesn't have a din of a Mishkan that you have to be Makiv only there. And the Ma'aseh this Meiri is a Meferish Yerushalmi. The Yerushalmi there, Perek Aleph, Halacha Yud Beis, the Yerushalmi says, Kol Zman Sha'orim Mibifnim Habamos Asuris. Yotzu Habamos Mutaris. Once it goes out, once there's no Oren, then the Bamah is Mutar. And the Ma'aseh has been doing very much from Rashi and Soitod after Zevachim on the base. Because Rashi there says that there's a difference between Shiloi and Noi V'Givoin or Beis Elohim. Rashi says, the Shiloi Mishkan hu. Shiloi is the Mishkan, it's a regular Mishkan. Noi V'Givoin, you don't have Ashkar Soitod. Why? Because it's a Bamah. There's no Oren, only Mizbeach. So Rashi is telling us that what defines the Mishkan is only if you have the Oren. If you don't have the Oren, it's not the Mishkan. And that's what the Meshech tells us in the Pasha of Skudei on the Pasuk, beginning of the Pasha, Mishkan Eidus. So it says the Meshech the Oren, why is it called Mishkan Eidus? Because the Oren has in it the Eidus. Ve'amishkan Eimas hu nichshav le'oil moyed le'esor habamas rak sheyesh Oren. Says the Meshech that that's why it's called Mishkan HaEidus. Why it's called Mishkan HaEidus? Because the Oren that has the Eidus in it is in it, and that's what makes it into the Mishkan. Now we mentioned already earlier in the Masechta and in other Shiurim that there is the way the Achronim say it, and that's what I heard from my Rebbe or my Shapir Zitzal. There's a machlekes, the Rambam and the Ramban. What is the ikar of the Mishkan / the Beis Hamikdash? The Rambam in Sefer Mitzvahs says, what is the Ikar Beis HaMikdash? Livno is Beis HaBchira la'avoida. To do avoida. Bo ya krovo v'avaros eshtamid. It's the Bokam avoida. Similarly, in the beginning of Hilchos Beis HaBchira, says the Rambam, Mitzvahs asay, la'asois bais la'Hashem, muchan liyos makrivim bar karbonis. It's a place where you do karbonis. The Ramban, in the beginning of Pashat Shumo, says a little different. He says, Ikar Chovetz Mishkan hu mokom menuchas hashchina shu ha'oren. The Mishkan, the Ikar is the Oren itself. And he says that's why your Oren is so chashuv. Kol continues the Ramban and says, because the whole idea of the Mishkan is to continue Har Sinai. Mamre Har Sinai is the Gilgal HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the Mishkan is the continuation of Mamre Har Sinai. The continuation of having Gilgal Kvodah. That's what it says, Kvoid Hashem, Molas HaMishkan. So according to the Ramban, the Iker is Gilu Shechina, which comes in the Oren. So the Chura, there's a machlekes here between the Rambam and the Ramban. The Rambam learns the Iker Beis HaMikdash is the Makam Avodah. Makam Avodah is done with the Mizbeach. The Ramban learns the Iker Mikdash is the Oren. You have to have the Makam Gilu Shechina. The Chura, everything we said till now, the definition of Mishkan is Makam Oren works very well with the Ramban, but does it work with the Rambam? But this is what we brought earlier in this Masechta, that the Rambam also holds that the Ikar of the Beis HaMikdash is the Oren. We brought the Yavetz that says, the Rambam tells us the Beis HaMikdash Hasheni, where was the Oren? So there's machlekes in the Gemara if the Oren went to Bavel or the Oren was Nignas. The Rambam brings in the Yad that it was Nignas. So ask the Yavetz Yaakov Emdin, why do we care if the Oren was Nignas or not? Why isn't it Gilgal halacha? Where is the Oren? Says the Yavetz because what makes the Kedusha Beis Hamikdash, according to the Rambam, is the Aron. If I don't have the Aron, I don't have the Kedusha Beis Hamikdash. The Rambam holds the Kedusha Rishon Kitchel Shaiso. The Kitchel also the Kedusha remains. So if he has to say that there's an Aron Nignas, it's there. That's what the Kedusha remains. So comes out to be the Rambam and the Ramban are not arguing on what's needed to be a Beis Hamikdash. They both hold that you need to have the Aron. That's the Makom Shos HaShechina. And then you have a Avodah, which is outside. The Shaila is, what's the purpose? What's the main emphasis? Is that the emphasis is our Avodah? That's the Rambam. And the only way to do Avodah is only if you have the Aron? Or the main emphasis is to have the Aron. If you have the Aron, you have Gilgal Shechina, you have to do Avodah. But everybody agrees that the Aron is what defines a Mishkan, defines a Mikdash. I need to have the Aron. And that's the pshat, that the Gilgal is not considered Mokkah Mishkan because the Aron is not there. Anyone who wants to join or sponsor the Shor Machshava Shiurim, please email shormachshava@gmail.com.